What's going on, everybody? Welcome into Jack Ramsay's postgame show. Danny Marang, Brandon Sprague, Joe Simons. This is kind of a role reversal. I'm doing the intros here, and Joe has to sit here and wait for me to say something stupid. For anybody that doesn't recognize the face, former co-host of Blazers Outsiders, good friend, the homie, Joe. For anybody who was in there watching the live stream watch party, Joe popped in what was supposed to be for 5 minutes and decided to hang out and shoot the shit for the whole game. So, Joe, thank you. Brandon, it is going to be a special one just because this is like bringing over your mistress to meet the wife.
Which one of us is the mistress?
You're the mistress this time.
Oh, okay.
Because Brandon's the new host, man.
Brandon, I'm sorry you had to find out this way.
That's okay. You know, I thought I was the new second wife. You were the ex-wife, but okay, I guess you're the mistress. We'll just have to deal with it.
Just cheating a little bit. Blazers fall 120-105, lose their 21st game of the season, fall to 13-21 on the year, which these are all just stellar numbers to read off, I'm sure. Turns out being tall matters in the NBA, gentlemen. Did you know?
Yeah, Utah had more tall guys than Portland did tonight.
There's the analysis. Let's rank our top 10 golf courses.
We did it.
We made it that far. Go ahead, Jed.
I was just going to say, we were on Hassan Whiteside double-double watch during the watch party, and he got there.
He finished. Listen, Hassan knew what he was doing.
15 and 11.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Of Portland's favorite son.
You know, the rebounding numbers are almost identical, 46-45. I was actually really surprised by that because the Jazz had 13 offensive rebounds. Somehow the Blazers had 11. Larry Nance Jr. had 4. The crime dog, Fred McGriff, I'm kidding, of course, Cameron McGriff had 3, but Anthony Simons also had 3. It's kind of like if you're looking for a couple high points of this game, Dame had 32, 6, and 4.
Yep.
Norm was on fire and then cooled off some, but still had a hell of a game. Nance came on late, almost messed around and had a triple-double, 14, 9, and 9. Probably Nance's most complete game as a Trailblazer. Ant got to his spots and did what he needs to do, just didn't knock him down. I think those are the kind of like big scheme takeaway things, and Nasir Little didn't look like he rolled his ankle as bad as we all feared. I think that's kind of like the fear at this point, right?
Yeah, you just don't want to see the guys get hurt. And Joe, you know, we had said this in the pregame, like one of my big things was I didn't expect them to win this game, but the Dallas game, they showed no life, no heart. Like at least in this game, they made it somewhat interesting at points, cut to like 6 or 8. You were going to win, but at least they showed that they gave a shit. That was nice to see.
Yeah, they gave a shit. We had a little bit of a sweat in the second half.
Mm-hmm.
Danny and I looked at each other at one point and was like, well, maybe. No. And then it, of course, didn't turn out to be. But this is the result you expect. They lose by 15 to a top-tier team in the Western Conference.
Jazz covered easily.
Yeah, they're one of the – congratulations, cha-ching. They're one of the worst teams in the Western Conference. But to your point, the Dallas game was a train wreck. Anytime Porzingis looks competent, I'm frustrated because he is the smallest 7'3" person I've ever seen in my life.
That has ever existed.
And for Portland to actually show a little life, for Norm to have a big first half, Dame put in 32. You get some stuff from Larry. I'm looking for other things up and down the stat sheet. They're not really there.
You're
this
just
is what you're going to get
like
with this team right now. Yeah, I mean, look, this is a 13-21 team. This is what you're going to get against a superior opponent. They showed some life, and that's that.
Mm-hmm.
What was your overall good, bad, or otherwise that you take from this game, Brandon?
I mean, the good actually to me, despite what the stats say, I did think Anthony played a really good game, and I know he couldn't hit a shot tonight, but he got all of the looks he wants to get. Mm-hmm. He got the close range looks. He got the long ball ones. He had some off dribble moves that I thought he really strong. And it just unfortunately wasn't his night. But in takeaways of games like this, it can sound stupid, but for a young player like Ant, like just getting to your spot and getting the looks that you're most comfortable with, sometimes those are the biggest confidence builders for players like that. So that was kind of my biggest takeaway outside of, you know, Dame had a productive night and Larry almost had a triple double. It was that Ant at least got to his spots. If he does that in the next game against the Lakers, it's only a matter of time before he hits those shots. And I think we feel drastically different about what kind of game he's given.
Between now, let's just say now, and the trade deadline. I mean, I guess I should have better prepared this. I was wondering how many games there are between now and the deadline. I think it's 15. It's 15 or 16.
Is that it? Wow.
Yeah, it's not that many games, man. Because, I mean, it's really only like a little bit more than a month.
Yeah.
Is it February 10th?
10th or 12th. I can never remember what it is. Actually, no, it's later. So the last game they play is on the 16th. So it might be a few more than that. So they're going to actually, they are going to have more games than that. So game 35 to game 57. So there's 21 games there. So that's right. I forgot. This is that January schedule. When the schedule first released, I was like, oh, that sucks. It's a 6-game road trip. It's 6 games through the Eastern Conference, and it's 6 games in 10 nights. So you've got 21 games, 22 with a Laker game. How many games do they need to win for you to be like, okay, I can see him in the play-in? Like, basically do the same dumb shit that they have done for 6 years. Where they have one stretch run in January, February, where you're like, really? You're going to do this again?
Well, if they go 500 in those games, let's say they go 11-10, then they go into the trade deadline 7 games under 500, which is still on the outside looking in of the play-in. And if they go 11-10 in the next 21, I think we'd probably agree that they're probably playing pretty good basketball. Because even though a lot of those games are against the East, they're going to those gyms. It's a long road trip, like you said.
And
I'd be impressed if they did that.
This team on the road this year, I don't know if you guys have noticed, they've won 3 games.
Joe, if they go 11-10,
so it's 2. Yeah.
Okay.
If they go 11-10 in the next 21, you need to go buy lottery tickets. Like that shit is not happening. This team's bad.
So like, Brandon, what about you? Like, is there like a number where you're like, hell, they'll do it?
No, I don't know. Like
I'm trying to.
You should be
Joe's
punting.
Just sitting back.
You should just be punting. Like this season's over. Wave the white flag. Like it's finito, man. Like you're not making a move yet. CJ, is down. Nurk is down right now with the COVID stuff. Like,
and a couple of those guys should be back on Friday.
Work out a deal. Start working on deals and start thinking about how to get Dame healthy. Like that's what you should be caring the most about, not the play-in tournament. The play-in tournament, you accomplish nothing with the play-in tournament. There's nothing you accomplish at all with it.
Well,
you lose your asset.
You lose your asset, but the ownership group gets a couple $2 million for that, and then if they do make the playoffs, another million or so a game.
The ownership group that's destroying an NFL team and an NBA team at the same time, I give 2 shits about them.
Listen, I don't care about them. I'm just saying that's like if it was, if they're trying to steer one way or the other.
And they get a trumpet the playoff streak if they somehow find a way to sneak in.
Somebody just running behind Neil O'Shea to pick up his shitty white flag.
But you can't be a competent, like Joe Cronin, if we're to believe he's a competent.
We all hope he is.
Well, yeah, if we're to think Joe's competent, though, he's got to value that asset more than he does saying, hey, we made the play-in tournament. Oh, we won a play-in game.
Well, and that's the thing about Cronin, too. You guys had an interesting discussion the other day about, do you want an interim GM? The other day, I think it was 3 weeks ago. Do you want an interim GM making what could be the most important moves for the franchise? And I think Joe Cronin's an interesting case because, as you guys have talked about before, there's only 30 of these jobs.
Mm-hmm.
But Joe Cronin doesn't seem like he would be in a position where he would make a lot of really good, savvy moves and then move on to another GM job. I think if he
gets it, he's staying.
Right, exactly. But my point is, do you think there's a situation where Joe Cronin has this interim tag, they bring in a permanent GM, and Joe Cronin bolts to another team? Or is it more likely Joe Cronin stays on and still remains in his role as like the salary cap guru? So I think he's invested in the long term, even though he'll be making interim GM moves, which is a pretty unique situation for someone to be in.
I mean, that's an odd move in itself, is it not, Joe? Like if he is given the green light for the CJ trade, and let's say he makes it, whatever that is, but they still go hire the next general manager. It's like you made the biggest move that person could have made, but you're still.
But they did that once before.
Yeah,
they did that with Chad.
Stick around, but he didn't stick around.
But that's what I'm saying. He basically did everything except submit the phone call for Damian Lillard, and then he went to Indiana. Kind of the same situation.
But Jody and Bert must have so much belief in Joe, not only to give him this opportunity, but because he's been someone who's with the organization for 16 years.
No, he's been here a long time.
Yeah.
And that's where I think that's the thing that I think is beneficial, because he has been here so long. He has been a part of the franchise. He served under KP. He worked with KP and Chad and Joe. I mean, he was part of multiple iterations of teams. He was part of the Brandon Roy, LaMarcus Aldridge, Greg Oden era. Like, he has been through a lot of big-time changes. And my first thought was this summer, when the Spoelstra stuff kind of got wind, and like, if they went with an interim in the meantime, like if they got rid of Neil in the summer, because there was still a little bit of smoke there, I started asking around, and who would be in charge in the meantime. And Branch and Rosenberry have both been there for a long time, and they're actually the assistant GMs. And everybody I talked to was like, "No, it'll be Cronin. It'll be Joe. Like he's the guy." And so this wasn't like a real shock when he stepped into that role. And so, if he's empowered and he's getting that opportunity, and he interviewed for the Kings GM job last summer, like he was quietly behind the scenes moving his way up, and I found all this stuff out really a couple months ago. I was like, oh shit, really? I wasn't aware. And if he's the one pushing all of this now, if you want me to be cynical, him being empowered could just be he's the cheapest option. Like if you're talking about it from like a financial point. But I think he's the cheapest option, and he's probably the best option, because not only do you get fresh eyes in the sense of vision, you get somebody who understands the inner workings of your organization better than anybody.
Well, I think you're hitting on the biggest thing there, though, to me, is the cheap part. And I hate to stick with just that part of it, but I mean, I just was my buddy Brady covers the Seahawks. He's brought this up. Mm-hmm. They just gave Pete Carroll a 5-year extension.
He ain't going nowhere.
Well, right. But if he is, that's a lot of money to pay out of that contract. What were they doing the investigation on Neil for so long for? It was so they didn't have to pay him 20 to 25. We'll see what he ends up getting, if he gets anything at all. But this is an ownership group that clearly cares about spending any money whatsoever. I think it's a lot of what you're saying. Like, yes, it's nice that he's familiar with it, but he really would be cheaper than prying somebody away from Chicago, wouldn't he?
Yes, because Chicago's going to want compensation, because that group is not exactly they sold second-round draft picks for a decade because they just they wanted money, which is hilarious because Jordan Bell just signed a 10-day deal with the Chicago Bulls. So to come full circle, they finally got their guy.
Well, and as evidenced by the press conference that happened 3 weeks ago, the expectations of basketball operations for the Trailblazers are so damn low right now. If Cronin is able to pull the trigger on a CJ trade, you get something back for Nurk and Rocco. Just do sort of the bare minimum stuff that we're asking, which is a lot in the realm of what the Trailblazers have done in the past decade. But if you're able to execute those moves and get something close to appropriate value back, it's going to be a really easy sell from the ownership group to say, yep, Cronin is our guy moving forward. The fans will be happy because he did the things he was supposed to do. And the ownership group, to your point, Sprague, will be very happy because he's a cheap option. Danny Ainge was floated around. You know what Danny Ainge wouldn't have been? Cheap. That was going to be an expensive hire if they were going to pull him out of retirement.
Not only that, he wasn't leaving Utah.
He was going to want ownership stake. Like, that was going to be a problem.
No, and him being hired by Utah, we kind of talked about this over the last couple of weeks, is that the only way he was going to come out was because everything fit perfectly, because he's back in Utah. He gets to do things the way he wants to do it. He gets to have his cake and eat it too. He was not going to get that in Portland. He was going to have to. He's going into Utah. He doesn't have to make any big changes. He just needs to kind of like middle around the edges. The expectations are already built into the organization, not for him to come in and fix it. He doesn't come into Portland and fix this immediately. And Ainge is the kind of guy where if that's the case, he's going to want to go, let's clear the whole chessboard and start from scratch. Not, I'm going to fundamentally change the whole organization and have a timeline put on me immediately. You're talking about a guy who's had 2 heart attacks. He's not about that life right now.
Well, and Joe, we asked you this during the live stream, but for the people who weren't on the live stream, you're a big Blazer fan, admittedly. Obviously, you cover the team for years and years, but this is a season, and I think a lot of people can relate to it. It's like a season where if you miss a couple games, it's not that big a deal because you're watching a team get blown out every night. How close are they for you where you need to see a deal done? Like we got somebody tweeted us, and I think there's a lot of this going on. It's just call me when you make a move because people are tired of seeing you trot out the same roster over and over.
Well, that's the thing is there's a lot of games left in this season, and you have to make a decision about what you're going to do. And the decision to continually, like you say, trot out this roster is not one that anyone is going to be in favor of. You have to sort of plant your flag in the ground and say, here's the direction we're going to go. And even if you decide to do, I guess conservative might be the wrong word, but if you decide to go a route of not getting someone in return who was going to be super splashy or help you win right away, if you were to maybe stash some picks, get some guys like, I don't know, a Ben Simmons who is really good long-term. Maybe he's not going to translate to enough wins to do something this season, but you bring in a Ben Simmons, you let Greg Brown get a lot of minutes, right? Ant plays a lot of minutes. You let the young kids run and you sell that to the fans. Putting something exciting and different on the floor, regardless of what it is what I'm after. I can't continue to watch this same product all season. I don't really care what it is. Give me something different. Let me see a different product on the floor because it's stale. And like watching a game tonight is a perfect example. We're excited about the Blazers showing some fight in the third and fourth quarter to cut it to 7, to cut it to 12.
Which is insane.
It's not meaningful. I'm going to take the Lakers game out of it because if they beat LA on New Year's Eve, that'll be a lot of fun. That's like a singular thing. But over the course of January, they're not going to win many games. It's going to get worse and worse, and it's going to continue to build upon a thing where fans get frustrated to the point of not watching and not coming to the arena more than they already are.
And that's ultimately what has been historically the most motivating factor for this franchise under Paul Allen. Mm-hmm. It was monetarily. It was, listen, the Jailblazer years, guys aren't coming in the arena. So you compact that with the COVID nonsense and a product that you don't want to watch. Even if you willfully tank, if you go, here's your light at the end of the tunnel. Here is your light at the end of the tunnel. Is that, listen, you can sell Damian Lillard breaking Clyde Drexler's all-time scoring record. That is a legitimate thing you can sell. That is a pinnacle achievement. That when you're talking about Blazers records outside of Bill Walton's MVP and title, Clyde Drexler's marks, those are the marks for this franchise. And when you break that, that's something you can sell. That's something you can celebrate. That's something you can look forward to. Over the next 30 days, you can sell that. Because over the next 30 days, he's going to be right in that window. It's February, first week-ish of February, as long as he stays healthy and on the same path. Honestly, when I did the math, I think it was him averaging like 24, 25 a game. If he gets back to Damian Lillard averaging 29, 30 a game, we might see that a bit sooner. But that's a real thing. So there's your first light. Let's say you make one move, Covington out the door or Yusuf Nurkic out the door, and you bring something new and shiny in. Remember that Mason Plumlee deal? Everybody was pissed about Mason Plumlee being dealt. The entire locker room hated that deal. But Nurk came in and you got Nurk fever. You had a light. Hell, people were more excited about the first round pick. Like, what can you do with this? This is going to be interesting. They just haven't had that in so long.
Well, I'll push back just a little bit here. This is not a knock. I think for a lot of people, I'm curious both your opinions on this. I think for a lot of people, Dame is already the best Blazer of all time. And if he's not for some, I
think it's a generational thing.
Well, yeah, it's probably a generational thing. But maybe for people around our age, he's probably already solidified that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's a real big buildup. You talk about having light. I don't know if people, hey, in the next month, Dame's going to break that record. I think Dame's going to break the record at some point. So I'm not really, that doesn't like, oh, I need to tune in. And if he breaks it in a game, they're losing by 25. I don't know what that does for a whole lot of people. You know what I mean? Like he's already done enough for me where if he breaks those records, cool, but that doesn't change things for me. I feel how I feel about Dame now versus how many points away he is from that record. So just your first thing in general is like crazy. The second part of this that you're talking about of what's the move, it's insane. I was just thinking about this week, a calendar year away from right now in 2020, we were talking about the start of another season after a bubble year. And now we're already at a point where fast forward a year later, we're dismantling a team. And the general manager's been fired and the coach is fired and the owner sucks even worse. Like it's nuts to put all of this in context and say a year ago, what were we saying and thinking about this team and what we're seeing and watching happen now 1 year later. It's funny how fast all that stuff moves.
COVID might have expedited it.
If I can jump in, just exactly a year ago, almost like this week, James Harden was coming to town. This was a city that he named as he wanted to come here. And we're thinking, some people were pushing back, but others were like, all right, we get Harden in, we get a backcourt that can score 80 points a game. Nurk, if he gets healthy, we get a few more pieces, Rocco, and we're putting together like a possible scenario of actually putting a title contender together. And here we are, like you said, a year later. And, I got to side with Brandon here, Danny. I don't necessarily think Dame achieving that record would change the opinion of me or anyone who thinks he's the greatest Blazer ever, or those who
I think it's more just a carrot
into that opinion. And I agree with you there.
Yeah.
I think it's a thing that ownership can sell, Calabro can talk about, Lamar can talk about.
You can build it for a couple of weeks.
Exactly. It's a thing you can talk about for a month. I happen to think Dame is the greatest Blazer of all time. I've thought this for a year or two. I do think it's a generational thing. I think from an ownership perspective, yes, it is a carrot, but from a fan perspective, if it does come in a blowout, like I don't necessarily think it's going to be something that Dame himself will even be able to be excited about because the team will be in such disarray at that point.
I think
which is a bummer.
You look at it, you look at Steph chasing the 3-point record. It's not going to be quite that, but I think you could spend a couple weeks, which we essentially for more or less, we have a month between now and the trade deadline. Month and a half if you're being, specific about it. But I think you can float some things. I think you can do a small trade. I think you can sell Dame chasing that, the team getting a couple wins, because the schedule does get easier opponent-wise. The problem is they play a truckload of games on the road. They have that 6-game stretch on the road. It's going to be a make or break kind of point. But then they have a big chunk of home games. Then they have 2 different homestands. One in January, and they have one in the beginning of February, right up to the All-Star break. I think it's from the 4th to the 12th. And they've been okay at home, as long as they're healthy. They've been okay. And I think you can sell enough wins. I think you can sell enough good stuff to string it out until the All-Star break, and then the other shoe drops. That's to me is like your best case scenario outside of a Godfather offer that comes in that meantime, which I don't expect to see happen.
Well, but Danny, I mean, you might be right on the schedule. They're 2 games away from being like one of the 4 worst teams in the whole league. I don't think they deserve any amount of the schedule gets easier type talk.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, I think they're the team people circle and say, hey,
they are a get right team.
Yeah, they're the get right team.
It's gonna be interesting. That's the thing that I keep coming back to of like how they're gonna play it all out.
Yeah, I think you guys are probably right. I don't mean to belittle the achievement of what Dame's gonna do passing Clyde. Like obviously that's monumental. it's going to be a really weird vibe and feel. I think if it's in a game where they are getting blown out, like we're going to stop and we're going to celebrate Dame. Congratulations, you're number one. Oh, continue getting your ass kicked now. Like it's going to be
return to your normal programming.
Oh, it's going to be a really shitty feeling. And then Joe reminds me that, it was a year ago, the Harden stuff happened. And I remember I was in I walked into my brother-in-law's house and he goes, dude, we're getting Harden. And I said, what? And I opened Twitter and I saw the Haynes thing and it was like Portland, one of 5 teams. And I remember just thinking, holy shit, the ship has come in. This is the one thing they needed to happen. And they couldn't get that move to happen. Like it was the one thing that I think had they pulled that off, we're sitting here talking about an entirely different team and situation, especially with this year's Western Conference, which seemingly sucks outside of Phoenix and Golden State.
Do you want to hate Neil a little bit more?
I don't know
you.
I don't know if I can hate anybody any more than I already do.
Harden was legitimately open to coming to Portland.
What does that actually mean?
He would have accepted a move to Portland.
Now I had heard that they made the move, that they had put in their offer, that CJ was involved, young assets were involved. Yes. To Neil's defense, not that he needs better legal defense now, but to Neil's defense, I had heard he at least did what he was supposed to do in that situation.
He didn't go the full 9 yards. So he didn't go the full 9 yards, and the reason is that James told him that he would go to free agency because he wants to be a free agent. He has never been a free agent in his NBA career. And he wants to be wined and dined and experience that, which is why he still hasn't signed his extension with the Nets.
And he won't either. Yeah,
no,
play that.
He is going to become a free agent. That is what he is going to do. And so Neil was not willing to make the offer necessary to make that happen.
That's so gutless. That's so gutless.
Hey, man.
Take a flyer, man.
I know.
What are we doing here?
You and I had this exact discussion, Joe. And
Look at Brooklyn. Brooklyn didn't give a shit. They were like, oh, you're going to be here for a year and a half? Cool, come on in.
Yeah, sounds fun.
Yeah.
God.
180 million tied up in you guys? Sure. Well,
it's the Paul George Kawhi thing. It's like, we're going to lose him in a year. I don't give a shit, man. Yeah. Like, get him here and let's win in. Nobody wanted to go to Golden State 10 years ago. No. I remember because I watched the NBA. They were a laughing stock. It's like, come on, just take a effing risk on some stuff.
Well, that's the thing is like right after the Kawhi thing happened in Toronto, where they literally had a rental for a year, got an NBA championship out of it. You have the test case that proves you can ascend to the highest of heights when this happens. And then to still not make the move is just, well, he's not here anymore. So cheers to that.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. We haven't really talked about this game other than a little bit here or there. And that's mostly on purpose. It was a situation where a team that was significantly bigger realized that they could have whatever they wanted and decided it was like a cat playing with a mouse. And there's no amount of anything that's going to change that until they get guys out of COVID protocols. So that part of it aside, did you see at least enough life from this team to keep you at least interested in coming back and watching this team? Because after that Dallas game, I had more DMs and texts and emails from people of like, screw this, man, I'm out. Yeah. So many fans were just like, nah. And I wasn't in the building tonight. We can't be in the building tonight, or at least I can't. I'm interested to see like what the fan turnout was tonight, what the reaction was. Because, excuse me, everybody who covers this team said the same thing after that Dallas game. Like that was a gutless performance. That was just inexcusable. Did you guys at least see at least enough fight like keep you interested?
No.
Our answers are yes, Danny. So I'm waiting for Joe I want to know what Joe's answer is because I'll tell you, if I wasn't doing the pod with you, I'd have the same answer as Joe. I wouldn't give a shit about this team.
That's the thing. As someone who went from covering this team to not covering this team, I don't give a shit about this team. It sucks because
there's 82 of them things.
Well, but I spent so much time thinking about this team for 4 years, and I immediately went into this mode where I didn't have to anymore. And for about 12 to 15 games. Sprague asked me during the watch party, how much am I in the day-to-day of doing this? And, at first I was, okay, let's give it a shot. And, they had the winning streak at home. So it's like, all right, well, you can talk yourself into this a little bit, but I'm grasping at straws here, guys. They're 13-21. Utah's obviously a superior team, even with everyone healthy playing for the Blazers. Like Utah, if you take the 12 best players on these rosters, Utah probably has 8 of them. And that's going to be the way it is, unfortunately, most nights for the Blazers this season. And we have seen way more nights like the Mavericks game than we did tonight, where I guess you can make an argument that they showed a little bit of fight, but even like Nas was kind of a non-factor. He ran around, got some rebounds, but he had 2 points, hurt his ankle a little bit. Ant played okay, but I feel like I'm really grasping at stuff every single night.
When the young guys don't bring something,
it's a little something. That's the thing. And it goes back to our earlier point of sort of the big picture. If you can give fans something to point to and say, this is what I want out of this team. I want to see the young guys do some stuff. Trotting out the same old lineup ain't doing it for me anymore. And we're 34 games into the season?
And they've made the lineup change. Remember, even when Covington was healthy, Nance is the starter. Like they've already
which I agree with.
Yeah, they played that card.
Look, Larry's an NBA player. I'm very happy with Larry. Mm-hmm. He's been a good addition to the team. He gives a shit. He is fired up. Like I really enjoy what he brings to this team and this organization as a whole.
It has made zero actual impact.
Yeah, exactly. It makes no impact.
And that's not a shot at Larry.
No, it's not.
It's just
he's a much different player than Rodney Hood, but he did the same sort of thing where Rodney came in. It's like, yeah, he does a thing and it's great and it makes an impact to a degree, but it's not going to change the bottom line.
Yeah. The tough thing for me is, over the years, Danny, you cited this in the pregame of they've had starts very similar to this multiple times, but they've always been able to have that random run that digs them out of it. They make a postseason run. This doesn't feel like that's going to happen.
Nope, we lost you, Sprague.
Oh, you got me?
Yeah, you're back.
Sorry about that.
Okay.
This just doesn't feel like it's going to happen with this team. And the other thing is those runs that they had when they turn it around, we were still kind of at the start in the infancy of Dame CJ.
Yeah, they weren't 31 and 32 years old.
Yes, that's played out now, right? It's played out. We know what it is. We know what can be. There's nothing to look forward to with this. And I'll take this a step further. I know that they're pretty good dudes. This franchise really panicked when they had the Jailblazer era, and this team was awful. They had off the court stuff. They don't have off the court stuff, but this team is just as bad. It really is getting to that level for me where I think the city's pretty damn close to just hitting the mute button for a while, being done.
Which is insane considering it is. No, I'm 100% with you. But when you are the show in town and you can't keep eyeballs, that is a problem.
Well, and especially now because football season, college football season wrapped up for the state of Oregon.
This is when you're supposed to take off.
Right.
Yeah.
January, February, NFL playoffs are going to be winding down. You get into February, March. All right, here's where everyone comes in and the focus is solely on the NBA. And it's probably not a good thing for the Blazers right now.
No.
You're
the Timbers deserve all the
you're sitting there come on, Timbers,
Yeah.
The Timbers team that was just in the championship game, they're second in 5 years?
Mm-hmm.
I love hearing Timbers fans complain. I was like, shut up.
Did you see the numbers for the Christmas Day NBA games versus the NFL?
I did not see those.
So the biggest viewed game on the NBA schedule was 5 million. The NFL had 28 and 27 million respective viewers. It's not only that's clearly the sport of America, but I think it's also an indication of
the NBA is not in great shape right now.
No, the NBA is in real dog shit place. When you have 5 guys playing at one time for your team and 2 or 3 of those dudes and they're your best players are out, what are you watching? Yeah. The Blazers tried it out. Dame tonight, that's cool. Norm played, but there was a moment where it was Cameron McGriff, Brandon Williams, Anthony Simons, what's the big Reggie Perry?
Reggie Perry, yeah.
Dudes most of us have not even heard of. We're watching that tonight. people paid to go watch that at the Moda Center tonight. It's not a product that's really that enticing.
Yeah, that's kind of it's a great time to have you on, Joe. Let me tell you.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Let me just say, we'll get out of here on that because this horse can only be lifted up and paddled so many times. It's nice to have.
This is the variation with Joe. Like,
yeah, that's
we
exactly
did this last time, and now we have Joe here to do it with us.
Right. Exactly. There's
an
different
extra paddle.
There's different angles you can kind of go at, and then sometimes you can lift the horse up a little bit higher and get to the underbelly, so to speak. Joe, let everybody know where they can find your podcast work.
Yeah, I do a golf podcast. It's called At the Turn. We're shut down for the season because it's December, but we'll be back in January. Going to be talking some Hawaii golf, and I'm sure every other episode will be about Tiger Woods because he played in the golf tournament a couple of weeks ago, and we're very excited about it. At the Turn, wherever you get your podcasts.
Joe, I have a couple golf things for you before you sign off here.
Let's go.
One, as a just a golf fan, because I'm a Tiger groupie.
Sure.
Were you hurt or not hurt by the fact that Tiger and Charlie got more views than the Open Championship?
Not hurt. It's Tiger.
That's a good point.
Give me every single Tiger Charlie synced up video ever.
They're great.
They're fantastic.
Can't get enough.
Yeah, the kid's going to win a major. Second, you mentioned Hawaii golf. Have you played Kapolei Golf Club?
I did play it in August.
I was saying, didn't you just go?
Wait, you played it in August?
I did. I played the plantation course in August.
I played in August too.
Were you out there?
Yeah.
Wait, were you that guy who hit into me?
Probably.
That place is spectacular, isn't it?
Beautiful.
I didn't play well because me and my buddy were just assholes taking pictures the whole time, letting people play through, just drinking drinks. No, go ahead. Because
that's what I was doing. I'd have a bad shot and I'd be like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm taking a photo of this. It's too nice.
Spectacular place. And I love going to a nice course and the staff treats you like a normal person. And everyone there was first class. It was beautiful. They made the bag tag for you.
Yeah.
Loved it.
Oh, yeah. They treated me like royalty. All right. And then I'm going to give you my top 10 metro area golf courses. And of the top 10, I want you to tell me how many you hate. Okay. That you disagree with. Okay. So I'm going to go in order from 1 to 10. Number 1, Stone Creek. Number 2, Chehalem Glen. Number 3, the Reserve North. Number 4, Pumpkin Ridge Private. Number 5, Langdon. Number 6, Rose City. Number 7, Heron Blue. Number 8, Eastmo. Number 9, Glendevere West. And number 10, underrated, Quail Valley.
I love the list. I like that you ranked Rose City so high. I'm a Rose City guy. My foursome fucking hates Rose City. What? I love that golf course.
It's a great course.
Very happy with your top 5. Stone Creek, I agree. Number 1, Glendevere West over Glendevere East. I take a little bit of umbrage with, but overall, your top 10,
sublime.
I think it's really strong. Really strong.
The trees at Glendevere were the big deciding factor. I need a little more open because I can't narrowly hit those fairways.
I understand. You really got to hit the ball straight there.
Don't ever listen to Joe when he patronizes you on golf, by the way, ever.
I'm not patronizing. I really think Sprague had a great top 5. Like, I had no notes in the top 5.
I was talking about when you're like, oh, no, yeah, you need to have it real open. Asshole.
Guys, thanks for having me on. This was a lot of fun.
No,
anytime.
Thank you
thanks
for coming on,
man.
brother. Appreciate you. We'll get out of here on that, guys. You can find us on social media at Jack Ramsays, at Danny Marang, at Joe Simon Says, at Brandon Sprague. Love you guys. We will catch you guys for the live show tomorrow. Brandon, what time do you want to go? You want to go 5, 5:30, 6? What are you feeling?
Let's do 5.
All right, we'll go at 5 tomorrow afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. So we'll get in there and we'll kind of dig into some stuff, have some more fun, chill, shoot it up a little bit, and maybe we'll rope Joe back in after the Blazers suck less than a month. We'll figure it out. Until then, take care. Talk soon. Have a wonderful